Thank you, Gary. Thank you to Triangle for arranging a lovely conference and giving me the opportunity to speak here today. As everybody spoke about football, I think I must add that in. And today's a big night for England, and we look to Steven Gerrard to keep the flag flying high tonight, and we wish them all the best. We also did not have a meeting with UPS prior to coming here, and I'm glad to say that we rely on similar sources for our data with Gunnar. So my first slide will be the same. Where is e-commerce going? I'm not going to go into a lot of details because I think the previous speaker's already gone over this particular slide. The growth is coming from emerging markets, and emerging markets is where the internet penetration is increasing, more users coming online, the middle class increasing. So we have to look at the growth areas of the world. Growth's also being pushed by major brands who have realized that there's a huge potential in these emerging markets, and pushing those brands into those areas is where the e-commerce growth's coming in. Extremely exciting numbers, 2.3 trillion by 2017 is an incredible number. This means that cross-border has to be looked at very closely. And if you don't look at cross-border closely, we are not going to fuel that growth. An interesting fact is Asia Pacific will overtake North America this year. That's a very interesting observation. China's leading the way. $6 out of every 10 US dollars spent in the region is taken in by China. And by 2017, 3/4 of all the revenue on online sales will be taken in by China. Why is Asia Pacific leading the way? You've got countries like India, Indonesia, and China who are really fueling this growth. And these are the markets that are going to continuously fuel the growth of Asia Pacific. And that brings me back to what happened recently with Alibaba and Singpost. They've seen this growth in that area. And from a European perspective, if e-tailers are not looking at that region, cross-border trade into that region, that's something I'd advise everybody to look into. It is an area which should be looked at. North America is going to number 2, Europe number 3. Other areas of the world that are also fueling this growth is Argentina, Mexico, Brazil, Russia, Italy, and Canada. These markets are also experiencing a tremendous increase in e-commerce sales, and these are markets that you need to look at as well. M-commerce, it's on everybody's topic. Mobile devices. But a recent study says that tablets will be the bigger driver of e-commerce. Why won't smartphones do this? I think the screen size comes in. Most of us want to have a bigger image of something we're shopping for. So as much as the smartphone's going to drive the m-commerce business, I think it's the tablets that's going to continue fueling this. There are various categories besides media products, apparels, consumers. The key question here is, are you ready for this? Do you have mobile-enabled sites? Do you have apps coming out? It's all about the consumer. We've heard everybody talking about the consumer's the decision maker, and that's right. From a postal operator, whether you're a postal operator, integrator, or an independent like us, we have to listen to what the consumer wants. And this is where it's all going. As we're in Germany, I thought I'd share a small slide on certain facts of Germany. We heard previously that, Germany plays a very important role in Europe. but 25% of the e-commerce sales in Europe would come from Germany. And the 300% increase is also a massive number. So, with all these opportunities in e-commerce cross-border, there are many challenges in cross-border e-commerce. A recent survey by IMRG in the UK said the two concerns of a consumer is delivery and returns. So a consumer would not shop if the delivery solution is not clear and there's no and the returns policy. These are the two areas over and above language, tax, and everything else. So these are an area. Of course, complex and costly returns process. That's a challenge of cross-border. Language, I touched on. Legislation and tax. If you were shipping to a non-EU destination, your consumer would be subject to duties and taxes. Do you have access to a DDP solution? Do you have a clear returns policy? How would you deal with the taxes that were outlaid at the point of entry into these countries? These are key points that needs to be considered when venturing into cross-border trading, especially non-EU. How will you look after your after-sales service? Will you localize that? How would you effect your guarantees? Would you bring the product back? How would you bring the product back? Would you have the right to claim the tax back that you paid at the point of entry? So there are many, many questions which needs to be looked at. And these are all challenges that one must take on board in an e-commerce environment. Of course, payment gateways. Different consumers in different markets relate to different payment gateways as their preferred choice. Figures and statistics have shown that if your site is taking a known local payment gateway, you'd have more sales coming through. So you've got to take that into place. And marketplaces. Different parts of the world have different marketplaces. You have Tmall, you have Rakuten, you have your eBays, your Amazons. So where would you place your product? Are you ready for a multi-channel placement of product? So these are some areas and these are some challenges. So one needs to consider these challenges from a domestic perspective. These are some of the areas which a consumer looks at, makes them buy online. I'm not going to go into what's written there, but we have to consider these points in a cross-border environment. Can we give free shipping? Probably. The consumer wants free shipping. How are we going to do that? So we had UPS earlier, and we have many carriers giving their opinions on bringing the costs down. Are you going to consolidate and fly to market? Are you going to consolidate and do a local injection? These are some of the facts and points you have to consider. One-day shipping. Not sure if you can do that globally, but 3 to 5 is probably a very acceptable delivery time frame from a global perspective. Are there solutions out there that you can access? It's all about the expectations of the consumer and the convenience as well. So we have to listen to what the consumer is saying. 24/7 parcel lockers, very convenient. Day of choice, nominated time, AM, PM. We heard about My Choice, but the UK is already used to a 1-hour window, and you can reroute your delivery 15 minutes prior to a delivery as well. So these kind of solutions are already being tried and tested and are spreading out. So it's all about choice. I'm not sure if 15 minutes is something which a consumer really wants, but it's there, and there are companies that offer that. You can follow your parcel, you can track where it is. So there are There are premium services available, and there are extremely cost-effective solutions that are available, like the lifestyle courier networks. Collection points and rerouting, very important. It's about the consumer again. Do you have the technology that, or are you working with a carrier that gives you these choices? So that's the key. We also believe that the returns process must be localized. A consumer wants to return their goods at no cost. So if you cannot give a free returns process or a localized return process at a subsidized or minimal cost, it's going to distract a consumer from coming to you. In this slide, we're just showing how a fulfillment takes place. It could be cross-border, goes into a local or international fulfillment center, out to the customer. But on the return side, we've shown that you need to have a local return center. A consumer will not want to wait long to get a refund on their purchases. And if you were contemplating going cross-border, you need to have a way in which you can refund the consumer in the shortest possible time. And the way to achieve that is by having a local returns partner in the country you're trading. And by putting process in place, you know your returns are back at a local receiving center, you should be in a position to refund the consumer. If a consumer has an easy and simple returns process, they're more likely to go back and shop on the site. And the biggest thing is the social media that you get out of it. They will post positive remarks, they will refer the site, and I believe repeat business follows. How would one achieve all these things? How would you support all this? It has to be IT. It's got to be an IT platform. But what sort of an IT platform? Would the carriers have an easy-to-integrate IT platform? Would it connect into your warehouse management system, order management system? Is it easy to use? Can the operators who will be using this use it? Does it have multi-channel delivery options? Earlier we spoke about choice, the consumer asking for choice. Are there platforms out there that will give you that choice and give the consumer that choice? If the e-retailer is not giving this choice to the consumer, in the future they'll have to, because the consumers are driving this, they want choice. And another study, again by RMIG, said a consumer will not buy from a particular online retailer if they did not like the delivery company. That's a very, very powerful statement, and that's reached again from the IMRG in the UK. So imagine a consumer not shopping from a site because they don't like a carrier that you're using. That means you must and you will have to give choice to the consumer. Cost effective. It's all great talking about big IT platforms, but if it's not cost effective, it's not going to fit the model. So you need to have a cost effective platform, and it's also going to be adaptable to your platform. So there are different programming languages out there. Is it going to talk to each other? How would you exchange data? That's a big question. I always talk about efficient returns management, easy, convenient, speed, and ability to personalize. Can you white label your solution? A lot of e-tailers like their branding on everything they do. Do you have IT platforms available that will enable the e-tailers to personalize it and give it the look and feel that it's their product? I think it's all coming down to these kind of things going forward. Finally, how do we support cross-border? So there's a platform called Your Personal Shopper, and I'm not going to go into detail of this, but it's a platform that would support cross-border shopping. It also helps in increasing parcel volumes, This is something that we are involved with and we're talking to a few national postal operators at a national level. But we'll be happy to speak to anyone if they want to know more about this. And I know the previous speaker spoke longer, so I'm going to cut it short and say thank you. That's my presentation.